Right. The reasons why women can't hold on to good men, right? Now, I would say impatience is definitely a contributing factor. Women, I'm not just saying it's just women, men are too, but a lot of women are very, very impatient. Like, I've had women try to put an ultimatum on me after 2 months. I've had women try to pull the exclusivity card on me after 2 months. And it always happens around about the time you sleep with them as well. And I think it's because they feel they've invested their body into you. So therefore they want their return. It's a bit like a guy who has spent £50 on a date and he's done this 10 times with a girl. So therefore he spent £500. He wants to get his return back, which is the woman. Because if he doesn't, then he feels like he's lost his money, right? But the thing people are forgetting is, if you try to pressure someone into a relationship or get exclusivity out of them, right, one of two things will happen, right? Either they will run away, right? Or they will go along with it and they will lie to you and they will do stuff behind your back, right? Either way, it's a lose-lose situation. There's no win-win in this situation. It's a lose-lose situation, right? The impatience is what drives people away. I think you need to kind of just like wait for people to come to you. If they're going to come, they're going to come, right? Listen, most of us are going to live a very long time, right? So there's no rush, right? Especially when the person's in your life as well. There's no rush, right? Now, insecurities are definitely another contributing factor. I've had a girl, right, on a date ask me, so what do you think of me? Like, do you know how pathetic that sounds? I would never dream of asking a girl, what do you think of me, right? No, I don't care what this girl thinks of me. I'm just going to turn up on the date, right? If, if we gel together, if we have good rapport, then we have good rapport. But I'm not really concerned of whether or not I'm her type, right? I've had girls ask me, so what's your type? Listen, honey, you don't need to know my type, right? It shouldn't matter to you, right? I would never ask a girl her type, right? Because I'm not going to change my behavior so I could be her type, right? Therefore, I don't need to know your type, right? It's of no concern to me. Listen, I am who I am, right? And it may come across arrogant, but I don't care, right? I'm not going to behave in a way where I think, oh, if I do this, this person will like me even more. It doesn't matter, right? Other insecurities. How many other women are you talking to? Listen, you shouldn't care whether or not a guy is talking to other girls, right? You should just assume you are the best, right? And he will pick you. Because that's what I think, right? I don't think that there are other people who are better than me, right? And you know what? If someone thinks that someone else is better than me, right, then you go for them, right? I don't compete with no one. I don't care if it's just me or there's 2 other guys or there's 100 other guys, right? I believe I'm the best out of the bunch, right? And you know what? If the girl's going to pick me, she's going to pick me. If she doesn't, she doesn't. I don't need to know whether or not she's talking to other guys, right? So long as she doesn't blow me off to go on a date with someone else. Now, I'll take that as a disrespect, right? But I'm not concerned with whether or not she's talking to other guys, because girls will always have guys that she talks to, but she will never give up anything to them, right? So, and I expect to be that guy that gets it from her, not being arrogant, but, it is what it is, right? Other insecurities. One time I booked a date for a girl on Tuesday, right? Called her on Friday to book the date for Tuesday, right? Called her on Monday, right, to confirm that I'm taking where I'm going with her on Tuesday, right? Because I hadn't spoken to her over the weekend, so I just wanted to catch up with her, see if she was all right? So I called her on Monday, right, to book the date for Tuesday during the day. And she said, oh, shoot, you know what? I forgot to tell you, we can't do it during the day on Tuesday, right? Can we push it to late Tuesday evening? That's cool. No problem, right? No problem at all. So I called her on Monday morning, right? Didn't call her or text her Monday afternoon. Didn't call her or text her Monday night, right? Didn't call her or text her Tuesday morning. Didn't call her or text her Tuesday afternoon, right? Because I don't feel as if I need to, right? Now, personally, I would have just turned up at her house and picked her up, right? No message, nothing. I would have just called her, I'm outside. Because I told you what time I'm coming, right? So I expect that you're going to be ready, right? Because I'm assuming that if you couldn't make that date, you would have contacted me. So therefore, if I don't hear from you, I assume that it's still going to go on, right? She texted me 2 weeks before, two hours before. Are we still on for tonight? Yes, of course we're still on for tonight. What do you think happened over the last 24 hours? Would you think I crashed my car or something like that? All right, things like that could happen, right? But the chances of it are very, 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 very slim, right? Now, I've had girls with their, more with the insecurities, right? I've had girls, after I've taken them out on a date on, let's say Saturday, right? I haven't contacted them for about 3 or 4 days, right? Because I don't feel I need to, right? I don't have that urge to talk to you after 3 or 4 days, right? Now, in that time, they must be having like a hurricane of all these different thoughts in their mind, right? Oh, he doesn't like me because he hasn't called me. Oh, whilst we were on the date, he was, he didn't try to touch me, or he didn't try to kiss me when I left his car. All these assumptions, all these insecurities, right, are what drives men away from women, right? And they kind of like, it's almost like they slit their own wrist, or they cut off their nose to spite their own face, because they come out with all these assumptions, right? And sometimes women end up cutting the guys off because they're insecure in themselves. I've had it happen to me. I've had women cut me off, right? Because I haven't called them or texted them for 3 or 4 days, right? So they thought that I didn't like them, when I did like them. But just because I like you doesn't mean I need to talk to you, honey. Listen, I don't need to talk to no woman every day, right? Just as a way to check up on her to see whether or not she likes me, right? I just assume that girl likes me, right? And if I haven't heard from her for 3 or 4 days, then so be it. Now, if I try to call her or she blanks my text, right? She doesn't return my text or call for 3 or 4 days, right? For me, that's a message in itself, right? But you know what? I will still probably end up calling her or texting her one more time just to find out, right? Because I need to be able to sleep at night and think to myself, well, do you know what? I made an effort, or because I don't want to be like that stubborn person where, oh, I'm not calling this person or texting them because they didn't return or return my text or call me back, right? I don't like being stubborn like that anymore. And I used to be like that, and I've stopped that, right? So I would then actually call them and text them one more time, right? And if I don't hear from them again, then I will just assume that they don't want to speak, and I'll wait for them to reach out to me, right? But for me, I need to do that just so I can sleep at night, because I don't want to feel like I didn't put my best foot forward, or I was stubborn, right? Because being stubborn is definitely like a relationship killer as well. Now, one of the biggest, and I think is the fundamental reason why women can't hold on to good men, is because their expectations are way too high, right? They call it the 3 6s, right? They need a man who is over 6 foot, earns 6 figures, and has a 6-pack. That's all well and good, right? But if you want a man who's over 6 foot, right, don't you dare be 5'2", right? If you want a man who earns 6 figures, right, don't you dare work in Iceland, right? If you want a man who has a 6-pack, right, in terms of 6-pack, they mean, shredded and in good shape, right? Don't you dare be some couch potato and you're a bit overweight. No. Because you're punching above your weight. You're looking for things that you can't match, right? Now, if a girl is really good looking, right, then I would expect her to want to take up with a guy who is also quite good looking and earns a bit of money. Because men, we should all be earning money, right? We should all have that paper, right? But as a man, right, men don't need to earn 6 figures, right? Like, I just think it's just some kind of like fashion trend thing that's going on now. They say, oh, a man needs to earn 6 figures. A guy does not need to earn 6 figures, right? Now, there are women on Instagram, right? And they get on my nerves. They think because they're extremely good looking, right, they are entitled to the top of all men. Like they think that, because I'm not a mainstream person, right? But they think because they are really good looking that they are entitled to some kind of mainstream type of person, like a footballer or someone who's got some kind of like status, or they're like a socialite. And it doesn't go that way. Just because you have been blessed with good looks doesn't mean you are entitled to have the top of top men, right? You haven't worked for it. You've been blessed with good looks. That's it. right? You've been lucky enough to have good looks, right? If you believe in God, right, then you can say God has blessed you with good looks, right? But that's it, right? All you're entitled to, if you're really good looking, is someone who is equally as good looking as you, and obviously earns a decent amount of money to look after you. But other than that, you are not entitled to some guy who earns 7 figures because you have a nice body and you're on Instagram and you have 1 million followers. No. I think they think because they got 1 million followers, they're entitled to a guy who earns 1 million. I swear, that's probably what it is nowadays, right? But I think the last and final reason why women can't hold on to a good man is because they're not good women, right? Sorry to say, but like if I look at a woman, right, and her last 3 or 4 boyfriends have all been thugs, right? You cannot be a good woman. There's no way you could be a good woman in my eyes, right? A good woman would not take on someone who is bad, right? I don't know Meghan Markle, right? But let's just use her as an example because she's married to, one of the princes, right? She does not strike me as the type of woman who would go out with thugs, right? Or let's use like Oprah Winfrey, right? I don't really know Oprah Winfrey that much, right? But I can assume that Oprah Winfrey is a good woman, right? Now, I'm telling you, right? Maybe in her 20s, right? But definitely not in her 30s and 40s. I couldn't see her going out with thugs, right? Because she strikes me as a good and decent woman, right? And good and decent women don't go out with thugs, right? And women who go out with thugs, right? And they've only gone out with bad men. I don't know. If a woman likes a bad boy, right, it doesn't mean he's a criminal, right? It's just he has a bit of swag to me. That's what a bad boy is, right? He has a bit of swag, right? But when a woman goes out with a bad guy, right, and that's all she's used to, she has kind of like evolved to be that type of girl that, her characteristics are like that for a bad guy. So when a good guy comes along, a decent person comes along, she has not been morphed to be able to, pair up with a guy who is really, really good. So a good guy's going to come along and see a woman that's like that and think, no, you're too ratchet to be with me because you're used to being around someone who is a bit more slapdash. And a guy who is good will not like a woman who's like that. I'm sorry, no. And another thing is as well, you need to start picking men who you would want your sons to grow up to be like. Because think about it this way, right? Who's going to be the person to teach them? Who is going to be the person to teach your sons? Who's going to raise them, right? You don't want your sons to be a thug, right? You don't want your sons to be thugs on the street. But then you will go out with a thug on the street, right? And expect your son to turn out different. No, it doesn't go that way, right? Listen, children are led by examples, right? So if the example in the household is a thug, or if he's not in the household because he's in prison, right? Then who are they going to learn from? They're probably going to learn from some guy out on the street, right? And this is why a lot of young black guys are failing because they don't have any dads, right, in the house, right? So therefore, they're out on the street and they learn from the elders, right? Because they're the only father figures in their life, right? So women need to start picking men that they want their sons to grow up to be like, right? Because that man, right, that they take up with is going to be the person who teaches them, right? It's so simple. Start picking men that you want your sons to grow up to be like, and you should be fine. End of story.